I'm a bad motherfucker.
All right, so you might have noticed that I am wearing my Roger Waters concert shirt. I went to see his This Is Not a Drill concert last year. I think that was last year. So Roger Waters has been having quite a hard time with the Zionist lobby and their enablers because he has the crazy idea that apartheid and genocide are bad. Now, in the interest of full disclosure and journalistic integrity, I will tell you, I have been a fan of Roger Waters' work specifically, like not Pink Floyd generally. I'm not into the Syd Barrett stuff. I'm not into the post-Water stuff. I even went to all of Roger Waters' solo concerts. So I have been a fan since I was about 12. Hence having been to the concert. So let's see what Roger Waters had to say about how he became educated on the subject of Gaza, which he hadn't known anything about. And he played a concert there. And that was how he found out what the situation in the West Bank is.
Like anybody with a heart, right. I spend my life teetering on the verge of tears.
Yes.
Because you can't possibly put yourself in that position, in their position, those mothers and fathers, those children, those 2.3 million, well, a bit less now, people living in Gaza, being bombarded by F-16s day and night, week after week after week. One cannot even begin to imagine what it must be like. 2005, I think. The show was sold out, and I cancelled that show, having heard that, Highcombe Park is built on a Palestinian graves and blah, and blah. But I came to some kind of internal compromise because I knew very little about what was going on in Palestine. And I moved the gig to a agricultural community where they grow chickpeas. I went back the next year and went on an extended tour, and we went all over the West Bank, and it was chilling beyond anything that I could ever have imagined to see back then in 2006 what was going on. And the absolute disdain. I remember thinking at the time, if they're like that to me, what must they be like to the Palestinians? And of course we know. And now, to bring it entirely up to date, we know exactly what they're like to the Palestinians, because they are, as we speak, committing genocide in Gaza. It's quite clear to anyone with half a brain that they are committing genocide. I'm happy to say that almost the whole of the rest of the world is going, nada más, stop. No, don't ceasefire for 4 days. You must stop the killing. It has to stop. Clearly, this Zionist experiment in the Holy Land has now officially failed.
So, of course, the world and the media have applauded him for his humanitarian effort. Oh, no. Pink Floyd's Roger Waters dropped by music publisher BMG over Israel comments. Now, I just want to make it clear that this article takes as a given that Roger Waters is anti-Semitic and has made anti-Semitic comments. Nowhere in the article does it quote these so-called anti-Semitic comments, and I might have used a different article that was less slanted. I couldn't find one because of the influence that Zionism and Zionists have on the media. So keep that in mind as we read through this. Pink Floyd co-founder Roger Waters has reportedly been dropped by music rights company Bertelsmann Music Group over his inflammatory remarks about Israel, Ukraine, and the United States. The news was reported by Variety, which notes that Waters' anti-Semitic statements, and that's not in quote, that is just a given in the article, infuriated his, this is in quotes, infuriated his former bandmates as they have driven off several suitors interested in acquiring the Wizarding Band's recorded music catalog, which was said to be on the market for $500 million. God damn it, Roger, we don't have enough money. Can you shut the fuck up about the genocide for a minute? You were always a fucking asshole, you know that? All right, so I'm just going to say, man, I'm sure we have some Pink Floyd fans who will get the inside baseball. Personally, I feel vindicated as somebody who was Team Roger and I was never Team Gilmore, because what a bunch of fucking scumbag assholes. These motherfuckers in Pink Floyd who have been talking shit about Roger all these years, they don't have enough money. They don't have enough money. They're upset that he's speaking out against genocide. He's always spoken out about these things because his grandfather and his father died in World War I and World War II, respectively. So he's always been a very strong anti-imperialist, anti-war voice. So, moving right along. The Berlin-based company signed a deal with Waters 80 back in 2016 and planned to release a newly re-recorded version of Pink Floyd's seminal 1973 album Dark Side of the Moon in 2023, but the new CEO, Thomas Kosfeld, dropped the contract. The album was eventually released by the UK label Cooking Vinyl. Since the start of the Israel-Hamas war, Waters has made multiple remarks that have been deemed anti-Semitic, and has been by who? By who?
And no citation, as you mentioned earlier. No. Don't actually say, for example, this.
Nope. Does not quote one thing. Rolling Stone is disgusting. Rolling Stone magazine's reporting on this is disgusting. It's all of this character, and has been the subject of multiple controversies in recent years. Waters, a longtime supporter of Palestine and a critic of Israel, has vehemently denied these accusations, but caused uproar last year after wearing a, quote, Nazi-style uniform on stage in Berlin. Now, if this so-called publication had any journalistic integrity whatsoever, they would immediately debunk that claim. This is for morons who aren't going to look into it, who don't know anything about the fact that he has been performing this character since 1980 as an anti-fascist statement. I can tell you, as somebody who was a fan of this band from the age of 12, it was through that representation of it that I first really began to think about the nature of fascism. And I certainly didn't take away from the horrific images and the very dark lyrics that he attached to fascism that it was in any way attractive. The message was very clear to me, even as, barely out of childhood. He won a legal battle in April 2023 after magistrates of Frankfurt instructed a venue to cancel his concert, accusing him of being one of the most widely known anti-Semites in the world. Waters explained that his disdain is towards Israel, not Judaism, accusing Israel of, quote, abusing the term anti-Semitism to intimidate people like me into silence. Hear, hear. The Biden administration weighed in on the controversy, saying his recent performances in Germany were anti-Semitic. The State Department suggested that Waters had, quote, a long track record of using anti-Semitic tropes, and that his concert in Germany contained imagery that is deeply offensive to Jewish people and minimized the Holocaust. That's insane. Waters branded President Joe Biden a war criminal during a CNN broadcast and claimed that he was directly fueling the war in the Ukraine. In February last year, when speaking to the United Nations Security Council, the artist also announced Russia's invasion of Ukraine as illegal, but also claimed it was not unprovoked. He added, quote, so I also condemn the provocateurs in the strongest possible terms. There, that's out of the way. In other words, Roger Waters, as the kids like to say, is based. So this is Stop Anti-Semitism. We just did a story about them yesterday smearing John Cusack as the anti-Semite of the week for the same reason. Anybody who's has any questions about Israel's ongoing genocide is an anti-Semite. So here they are. Great news. Berlin police have launched a criminal investigation into Roger Waters following his concert in which he dressed like a Nazi SS officer holding a gun and denigrated the murder of Anne Frank. Shockingly, AMC Theaters is promoting Waters currently. That is complete bullshit. It's completely made up. The outfit he's wearing, the armband, that is not a Nazi armband. It's crossed hammers, which was this commentary, again, on fascism that he's been performing since 1980. It's been in a film directed by Alan Parker with Bob Geldof playing the character without anyone ever missing the point of it as they are intentionally doing here. So good on the readers. They added some context here. Usually we are on the other side of community notes, but this is a case where they were valid. Roger Waters is...
for the community.
Yeah, the community was a little better here.
The community came through.
They came through for once. Roger Waters is in character as Pink Floyd, a rock star that overdoses and descends into madness, hallucinating he is a dictator at a fascist rally, and the audience are his supporters. It is a role famously played by Bob Geldof in the movie Pink Floyd The Wall, 1982. And I will say, as somebody who's seen it in concert, the statement is very effective. If you actually see that in concert, if you're familiar with the album, you know, there's an entire segment saying, is anyone in the audience tonight? And he names all these different identities, get them up against the wall. And you have a whole chorus striking chimes. I mean, it's a very clear statement also on the weird overlap between rock concert audiences and rallies, right? I mean, that's something that Oliver Stone's The Doors kind of played with, that the weird chemistry in a rock concert audience. So there's a lot going on there, but certainly if you know the lyrics of these songs, in which fascists are compared to worms, certainly not anything any fair-minded person could interpret as being supportive of it. Nobody hates free speech. This is from Scott Horton. Nobody hates free speech more than Israel and their foreign agents. Pink Floyd's Roger Waters dropped by music publisher BMG over Israel comments. This is Randy Credico. No surprise, the nation with the most heinous, ignominious, and longest active legacy of embracing fascism is now banning the work of the individual Roger Waters, who has the longest active legacy of fighting against fascism. Anything, Keaton?
I mean, it's the most obvious thing in the world. Like, you know, I'm a generation behind you, so I didn't grow up with Roger Waters or Pink Floyd, but I don't have to. I mean, it's the most obvious thing in the world when you look at that character, when you look at that presentation, when you look at everything he says. As he said in that first video that you showed before we read through all that, he, as a human being with empathy, spent his life on the verge of tears since finding out about this issue in ways that most of us are just finding out now. Right. You know, and this just speaks to the level of ignorance that the Zionist project relies upon in order to maintain any kind of support for it. Because, you know, for so long, people just didn't check under the hood. They threw their hands up. It's complicated. There will always be violence there. It's religion. It's oil. It's this. It's that. But Roger Waters obviously knew what was going on there long before most of us did. And that's why he has felt the way he has about it for much longer than most of us have. And so once you find that out, on top of the just very obvious, I mean, it's just, it's almost like a South Park level of like absurdity that you would think that character with the, you know, faux Nazi armband, you know, with the hammers, is somehow an endorsement of fascism, as if that character is portrayed as a hero character on stage.
Of course, and they don't think that. That's for the morons. That's for the morons who are just going to see the picture and go, oh my God, I can't believe that Roger Waters. Really? You think he's been getting away with that for 44 fucking years?
Right. Yeah. You
Really?
don't think he'd have been canceled by now if he were going on stage celebrating Nazism?
Yeah. So pretty disgusting. Wearing the shirt in solidarity. Anyone who's not familiar with this, I'm sure you can find clips. That movie's old enough now. If you go on YouTube, look up Waiting, and that song will give you a pretty good idea of how fascism is represented on the Wall album, which is where that character comes from. Anything else, Kay?
Nope. I think we got that one.
All right, let's go to a card.
There are many Christians in the Roman Church. There's no question about that. There are many good Christians in the Roman Church, but there is nothing fundamentally Christian about the Roman Church. Now, the Roman Church set about destroying the ancient wisdom, making sure that it could not be accessed. From the time that the Library of Alexandria was destroyed, we lost the ability to read the hieroglyphs. And that's something that we didn't recover until the 19th century. But the wisdom was retained. And because of the oppression of the Roman Church, it had to be retained in secret. And the Knights Templar, some say they were founded a little bit earlier, but fundamentally the Knights Templar was just a group of 9. Don't be fooled by the myths about them being the protectors of the pilgrims. That was the Knights Hospitalier. But the Knights Templar were after something. And what was it? Yeah, I mean, Graham Hancock is here tomorrow, and he may touch on his research because maybe they were looking for the Ark of the Covenant. Sacred geometry, and we see here in London evidence of sacred geometry in the London architecture. This is the pyramid on top of the pillar, and the pillars are representing the 2 pillars at the front of the Temple of Solomon, Boaz and Jachin. And this was believed, ancient wisdom, to bring energy into the earth. And one of the reasons that Tony Blair was so adamant that the dome was going to be built was to obtain the symmetry here between the male and the female. Here's the female, here's the male, the pillar, and Boaz and Jachin. The desire to bring energy into the city of London and abuse it.
So, Project Veritas, James O'Keefe posts, which looks like, I think on Instagram, a perfect replica of the Ark of the Covenant, 2,700 hours of labor, 6 pounds of gold at Mar-a-Lago, Trump's estate. And Donnie Darkins here, he says, a few months ago, a report came out that Donald Trump has the possession of ancient Israeli artifacts in his home that they've been trying to get back. He speculated that one of them was the Ark of the Covenant. What if? Well, the rabbis actually believe that the Ark of the Covenant is buried under somewhere near the Temple Mount. But he's right about the article. 6 months ago, this is The Guardian, treasures lent by Israel for White House event, quote, stranded at Mar-a-Lago. Antiquities from Israel's National Treasures collection. Of course, they're at Mar-a-Lago because Trump is so kosher. Antiquities from Israel's National Treasures collection have ended up at Trump's Florida estate, says reports, but apparently this wasn't the real Ark of the Covenant from Israel. It's a replica made by a supporter. Laura Loomer photoed here. Laura Loomer's Trump's number 1 girl, probably his new mistress, number 1 cheerleader of Trump. No, he didn't. The Ark was made by a supporter. It was unveiled at a private dinner at Mar-a-Lago with about 20 people. She knows because she was one of those people who was invited and in attendance at the dinner, which was very focused on the topics of spiritual warfare against the nations and Judaism. Spiritual warfare with Trump, their messianic figure, to destroy America. under the guise of making America great again. So Laura Loomer hanging out at the exclusive, private Ark of the Covenant Jewish spiritual warfare meetings. Oh yeah, Trump's going to make America great again. He's going to take out the deep state, I'm sure. He's going to be more Zionist than ever. With Kushner back in there. Look at that big old gold. 6 pounds of the Ark of the Covenant. Laura Loomer and James O'Keefe at this private event.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit